deep dive into Cheltenham, the last preview, only a couple of days away now. Viewers' questions. Elle's got some horse racing news, which is quite exciting. Ryanair Chase Projector Rat.
Protector rat.
Who? There's a rat in my kitchen. That's one for the socials. He was getting pushed along at the end. He couldn't keep up with the two horses in front of him. I was thinking, that makes me a bit worried.
That doesn't good.
That's a PR nightmare. Gold Cup day. Let's get into day one then, Tuesday the 11th. I'll be then coming home with a hangover on day 2 on Wednesday, but you'll still be there. Let's go with the nap. By the way, I got some abuse about the Albert Bartlett, didn't I? Right, okay. Day 3, St. Patrick's Day. Luck of the Irish at the Avenue.
Position. Annie Power at the last place down. Annie Power has gone, but in front of the last left. Melanie Lloyd the first time. They're running up towards the finish, and he's mistaken the winning post. He's mistaken the winning post completely. Roger Lockwood and Hoyt for it. From Archibald, Hardy is the defensive title. From Archibald, who's second out in second. Then in third, now White is beginning to run. He's drifting off the true line. He hits fire, and this was to be home. Swings the gun. Going to win his 4th Betfair Chase, and Cordo Star is still the king. Cordo Star wins.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Tailed Off, a no-holds-barred podcast that dives headfirst into the wonderfully weird world of horse racing. As a reminder, I am the newbie and I am joined with my good friends Duncan and Elle, who's going to help us along the way. So today we're going to do another deep dive into Cheltenham, the last preview, only a couple of days away now, so we are very excited. We've got a couple of other things we're going to cover. So we've got viewers' questions, a couple of good questions that come in. Elle's got some news, horse racing news, which is quite exciting. And then we'll get into Cheltenham Festival. So Duncan and Elle have done a good job picking their NAP next best, and what's the IWAC?
In with a chance.
In with a chance.
And
I've also done the top 3 newbie NAP as well, so stay tuned.
Elle's scolding me already for this. He's shaking his head. It doesn't
That's
like
a woke nonsense, that is.
Get on board.
That's a woke
Get on board,
nonsense.
you gammon. Get on board.
Maybe we should stand for that.
Outsider.
IWAC, mate. IWAC.
You can tell you're working consultants.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
I could see your eye roll when you posted
So many
that.
acronyms.
Right, let's get into... actually, let's start, Elle, with the news then from your side. So, you bought a horse.
I did buy a horse. I probably should just say it wasn't just me that bought the horse. And it is a racehorse, it isn't just a horse.
It's not a rocking horse.
You'll be on the Western Supermare Beach going up and down on those donkeys.
It was painted brown, so I thought it was a horse. But no, for those who've been listening a long time, we've obviously referenced See the Eagle Fly, a horse that the three of us were lucky enough to be involved in a few years back, and ever since that experience, been desperate to sort of get back into racehorse ownership, just kind of looking for the right opportunity. And a good friend of mine, Pete Sullivan, who set up that syndicate, has been doing a bit of shopping around, and we will get him on the pod probably after Cheltenham just to talk about how that all works. But he was frantically messaging me yesterday because there was an online sale, which is kind of a new and upcoming thing where you don't obviously have to drag all the horses to the actual sales ring. You can just sort of sell them digitally these days, which is quite handy. And
Zoom.
our budget
It's
was
like eBay for horses.
Yeah.
and we nearly got absolutely dirty eBay bidded for it at the last minute. So our budget was
Classic.
8K, which is pretty cheap for a horse, let's be honest. And we're looking to get a flat horse for the summer for just a bit of fun. And just about 20 minutes before closing, we had a bid at 4K, which I was buzzing about because I thought, I think this horse is unexposed and it could be anything, and 4K seems pretty cheap to me. And then right at the last second, some sneaky fucker put in 4,200.
Sorry about that, mate.
Yeah, drive the price up.
It was Laura, your other half, trying to...
And nearly nabbed it from under our noses. But then our trainer was hot on the ball and left it to the last second, putting another 200 on top of that. So we got it. So the horse is called...
What's his name?
The horse is called Call Out, which is all one word. Currently trained by Edward Bethel up in Yorkshire, and he's going to be moving to our trainer Jack Morland in Newmarket. So good omen on the name.
Jack Morland.
He's done a lot of apprenticeships in other yards and stuff, and he's just started out recently as a trainer on his own, and he's definitely one that Duncan and I have kept an eye on. He's definitely a young up-and-coming trainer, hopefully going places, and there's only going to be sort of 12 horses in the yard, so even at our little modest 4.5k purchase, we're going to be involved in the yard and a serious part of it. And yeah, the horse is rated 62, I think. It's going to be a sprinter, 3-year-old, so plenty of opportunities to get stuck into some good races over the summer, some fun days out. First race we're targeting is hopefully Windsor. And
yes, Windsor.
There are shares available, so DM us if you're interested.
And here is the sell. And here is the sell.
Come on.
For a price right for you, you can own a share in this horse. Just contact Elliot Morland.
Did you get Jack Morland on the old poddy then, if he's up for it?
Well, we've got a yard visit, so he's trained in Newmarket, so in a couple of weeks we're due to go over there.
Tailed off live yard visit. That'd be a great pod.
Yeah, I don't think I can ram the podcast completely down his throat, to be honest.
Not just yet.
I might mention
warm him into it nicely.
I might ask him. Ask him nicely if he'll do a video for us or something at least.
Yeah,
that'd be good. Superb. Well done, mate. Congratulations
very much.
Congrats, mate. And thank you for trying to convince me to do this, to get involved as well. I'm not sure. I'm on the
Keep
fence.
reeling you in, mate. Owners enclosure.
I bet it would take nothing to get in.
Enclosure.
Yeah, exactly. Take nothing.
Awesome. All right, let's crack on then. So we've got 2 questions from our viewers. So thanks for the questions coming in today. Some of them are quite actually related to the festival itself. So let's start with the weather. If you haven't watched last week's podcast, we did speak about how the ground obviously can impact what horse you're going for and the performance of that horse. But we've had a question on how much does the overall weather actually impact the horses? So more than just the ground, but actually, let's say the extremes. So if it's very wet, cold, hot, are the horses going to run better than others? So it's not about the ground. This is a bit broader. I think the question when it's raised, they referenced F1 drivers. So like Lewis Hamilton famously is good at driving in the rain. Have we got any horses that might be similar?
It's a hard one. I don't know. I don't know what Elle thinks, but I find that it's quite a hard question. Like if it's like, say, for example, if it's really cold weather, the likelihood is you might have frozen ground, which means you're not going to run at all. I don't think, the only thing I could really think of is sometimes horses like, for example, Meydan, so out in like Dubai and stuff like that, they have Dubai World Cup. So you'll get some horses, I think Andrew Balding has sent some over there, as well as a few others. I can't think who the latest one was. Who had the Fergie horse that won recently over in, was it Meydan? Won like an absolute
Richard Fahey,
decent pot.
Spirit Dancer.
Yeah, Richard Fahey, that was it. So obviously the climate over in Meydan is going to be a lot more humid and hotter than it is here. So some horses might take to that quite well. Other horses might absolutely loathe it, and that is a natural thing. So that's the only thing I could really say that, like, from a kind of like a weather perspective, I guess, is like the heat. I don't think from a cold perspective, I'm not really sure how it would work for horses. Maybe Elle's got more of an idea on it, but again, I don't know if a horse cares if it's actually raining or not. It's more the ground it will care about.
Yeah, fair.
I may be totally wrong.
What do you think, Al?
Yeah, I suppose the only thing I've never really heard a trainer moaning about it raining, even though you can imagine if it's lashing down, probably some horses might just... I mean, basically, they're like humans. Some are built tougher, some are softer. So there might be some that fold under those extreme weather conditions, but I can't say I've ever heard a trainer say, "Oh, that horse didn't like the rain today." That seems like a bit of a cop-out. I've definitely heard a lot, and there's one topical horse at the moment that very much fits into this category. They're called spring horses, and this is particularly a problem over jumps because they're meant to race in the winter. So if it's a spring horse, you haven't got much of a season left.
I know exactly who you're talking about with the spring horse.
Yeah, and basically they do say that because they're obviously animals, they are respondent to their environment, and in the cold depths of the winter, they can just be like 10-15% beneath themselves. And then literally this week we're having now, where we just out of nowhere got a lovely bit of sun. Those horses that are out in the fields every day, bit of warmth and a bit of better air and less kind of muggy, kind of cold bugs and stuff going about the place, they can suddenly just feel a lot better in themselves, and all of a sudden their performances on the track can turn. And good old Langer Dan seems to be the horse that's always put into that bracket by his trainer, who says he just sort of can't get him fit in the winter, doesn't like his training in the winter. As soon as the spring hits and he gets a bit of sun on his back, you see what happens every year. So,
well, it's going to be chilly next week, so that might not be helpful.
Yeah, but it's definitely true that some horses appreciate when the weather turns a bit nicer. Yeah. But yeah, it's not a massive thing, I would say.
I guess there's faster races in the summer because the air is less dense.
There he is.
So scientific.
Right. If you guys had a horse racing at festival, Elle, you might have your horse racing soon. All those are flat, so probably not. What would you call it? El, you go first.
I don't know. There's a name that I've always had in my mind. I don't know if you.
Up the Blues.
Well, there's two ways of doing this. What if I was lucky enough to own a string of horses, and you see this with certain owners where they have like one main name that they name all their horses, and then they just change the suffix to like lad or boy or star or whatever. So if I had a few horses, I sit in the Tilton Road stand in Birmingham City's glorious St Andrews football ground. So I might have like a Tilton Star and a Tilton Lad, and that might get a bit boring, to be honest. But the thing that JP McManus does a lot, I've noticed with his horses, is he has like 3 or 4 words shoved together all in one word. Have you ever seen that where a racehorse, rather than separating them into component parts, they're just like I know the way you're thinking or something like that.
Yeah,
Just literally
meeting in the waters or something like that.
Yeah, so they're all one word. So I would probably have not too much for me, which I could just hear a commentator shouting out as he storms up the hill.
Not too much for me.
Not too much for me.
All Mankind is another one.
Yeah, there you go. Good on.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, like that. Duncan?
I think we always joked about this, Al, but I don't know if it's already a horse that's been in there. It's like kind of a jokey / something silly that you can try and get away with some kind of innuendo. And I think one that we talked about was like Wizard Sleeve. And I don't know if there is one that's actually been called Wizard Sleeve in the past, but trying to get that through would be quite entertaining. And just hearing a commentator saying Wizard Sleeve without laughing would be entertaining.
What was the
Something like that would be good.
What was the Afterlife reference that you wanted to make as a horse?
Quimmy Savile or something like that.
Or Bone Alone?
Yeah, Bone Alone might be quite interesting.
Silver.
Trying to get something like that through. Shout out to Ricky Gervais.
I mean, you both of you failed to mention Tailed Off. I mean, Tailed Off would be the name of my horse.
I mean, it would be.
Can you? That's a
An
very
interesting
confusing
name.
commentary, and it's Tailed Off that wins. You know, it doesn't really make sense.
How many
Tailed
subscribers
off
do
the
we need
tail
to
off.
start a syndicate, do you reckon?
Yeah, come on, guys. You need to like and subscribe so we can buy a horse.
Yeah, exactly. All you subscribers will get like a certain mini percentage of it if you get one or
Yes.
something like that.
All right, we'll put it there. If we buy a horse, then all subscribers will have the opportunity to purchase into that syndicate.
Yeah, bring it on.
For a very good price. Very good price. All right, let's get into Trainers in Form then. So we didn't do it last week because we didn't have much going on, but we unfortunately had no place this week, did we? El, how are we doing on Trainers in Form?
Yeah, I felt a bit under pressure to start putting up horses again because the last 2 podcasts didn't have much to talk about. Unfortunately, neither of those 2 horses won or placed. Chipping away at a profit, but we're still podcast to date £24.48 up from 23 selections, which I don't think is bad going.
Pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good odds.
Too bad.
As a reminder, for those that don't know what we're talking about in Trainers in Form, go and see our pod on Trainers in Form. I think it was our first one, wasn't it?
Episode 1.
First one. Watch from the beginning and then watch all the way through to episode 8 and you'll see us now. But yeah, quite important to understand why we're just doing a P&L on Trainers in Form. So go and watch that. Okay, let's get into Cheltenham then. The big day is finally here in 4 days. Looking forward to it. So we're going to do a bit of a recap. So I guess, guys, we've had a couple of Cheltenham deep dives in the last few weeks, but we thought we'd bring it all together in one pod for the 4 days. So let's get into day 1 then, Tuesday the 11th. So we've got a NAP and an MB. Sorry, what's the MB? Next best. And then we've
People
got...
know what NAP means, by the way, because that's a different thing as well.
Do you know what? I don't actually know what NAP means.
Ah, there we go. So NAP.
What about something like...
If you get this, I'd be so impressed.
Nothing...
No. It's like an individual
based.
word. It's like a famous person's name.
No chance.
Or Napoleon.
Okay.
So
Why?
it's Napoleon.
What does
It's
it
come
mean?
from a card game called Napoleon, which is originated in France, and it's when players call out Napoleon when they believe they've won the game.
Oh, okay.
So that's why.
So from
there's
the
that.
French. Yeah.
Basically,
Hey,
your
Siri.
nap is your best bet of the day. That's
Yeah.
what it means.
Yes, NAP is the best bet. Yeah. Okay, right, let's get into the NAP then. So, Elliot, let's start with you. What are we going to go with? What's your final line in the sand NAP for Champions Day?
Yeah, day 1 of the festival. We've obviously spoken about this horse a lot, and I think a few weeks ago I was maybe less kind of confident on his chances. But the more I've been thinking about it, the more I think if I had to have... Basically, the NAP should be, if you just had one bet in the day, what would you be most confident in? That's how you should measure a NAP. And if I was going to have one bet...
Full check.
Yeah, it can be a bit full cherries. The price has to come into it. You can't, you wouldn't just have a nap for a 1 to 5 shot, because you're not exactly going to do much on that. And this horse is short. Constitution Hill in the Champion Hurdle, I'm starting to think this could absolutely blow him away. This could be a performance to remember. It could be a race of the week kind of territory, especially now since we last recorded. Brighter Days Ahead, who we obviously weren't sure was coming, but she was 50-50 here, 50-50 mares. Good old Michael O'Leary has found his cherries, and he's decided to commit her to this race, although she still is in the mares, so don't pull out a dirty little bluff job gone on there. I think it would be pretty ridiculous if they said all that and then didn't run in the Champion. Conversely, there's been so much going on the last few days. If you watch the exchanges, there's been horses coming in and out and all over the shop. Some of it is kind of the market spooking, some of it is rumours and whatnot. Lossymouth has now drifted like a barge for this race.
She's odds on for the mares.
And she's just shortening all the time for the mares. Yeah, like you say, every time I look at a price, it gets shorter. So, I mean, if to be fair, if the other camp have said we're going to run Brighter Days Ahead here in the Champion, you are looking at an open goal, or you could come third in the Champion Hurdle the way it's looking. So I don't blame them for switching, but it is a bit weird.
No.
They've been saying all season that she was definitely going to go to the Champion Hurdle. So you kind of have one less opposition to worry about in that respect, even though it does look like Constitution Hill has her beaten anyway. Brighter Days Ahead, I do really respect. She destroyed State Man at Christmas. But I think State Man has just been on the downgrade a little bit this season, and I think everything that I've heard about and seen with my own eyes with Constitution Hill, the stronger they go, the more the race is an absolutely truly run gallop, the better that gives his chances and plays to his strengths. He's often asked to run in quite small fields and sort of fiddle about, and he can't look as explosive because he is quick, but I think he's a pace horse, which means he can sustain a strong gallop for a long time and finish strongly at the end. So at the moment he's 8-11, but the money does seem to be coming a little bit more for Brighter Days Ahead. I do think, given it's the first day, the bookies will be trying to put, because there's a few short ones now and they're all going to be in multiples with Kopek, Madgeborough, this one, and then Lossie and the mares. That's a fourfold everyone's going to be on, so they're going to have to try and get one of them beaten and push some prices out. So if you can get even money about Constitution Hill, say cherries.
Is it currently 4 to about 365s?
Okay, well, he was 8-11 when I wrote this morning, so he's got even shorter, which is good.
Yeah.
Is that non-run no bet though, or is that?
No, that's just anti-pose.
Right. Someone must. Yeah, if you go on Twitter, you might see a video of him schooling yesterday, which he just looked so good.
I mean, like, don't get me wrong, it would look good, but it was just one fence.
Yeah, but he does that constantly.
And it was like, you don't know what he done. He didn't know what he did in the last two, but it's absolutely smashed through them. I'm sure he didn't.
Cynic.
He doesn't touch him.
Anyway, okay, cool. So you're getting Constitution Hill. It's hard to sort of go against that, really. But I mean, I've got that in all of my tri-casts and all the ACCAs. So if that doesn't come in, I'm screwed.
Buggered.
So I'm not going to do it on the nose. So we'll see. Okay, so Constitution Hill, that's the Champion Hurdle at 4:00. Duncan, what's your sort of tip of the day then for the Champions Day?
My horse of choice for my nap is Kopek de Board. So that's in the opener, the Michael O'Sullivan Supreme Novice Hurdle, 120. Willie Mullins released his stable tour and write-ups the other day, and the amount he'd written, he could have written like a whole bloody story about this horse. Like, the amount that was written on there, he seems to love this horse. I was watching the Paddy Power preview night the other day, and they were talking about how, and I think Elle mentioned it as well on the last pod, how buzzy the horse was and sweating up in pre-parade and before he went out in the DRF. But Willie said, like, he thinks that's just the nature of this horse. He's very much like Hedge Hunter, who was a previous Grand National winner, and he very much, sweated up in the paddock. That was just his temperament, and if he didn't sweat up in the paddock, he basically gave in a shite performance. So he just feels that this horse is exactly the same. It's just how he'll be, and I just, based on the performance last time out, I don't think you're going to see anything that can, if he runs to that form, I don't think anything's beaten in this horse on the opener.
Awesome.
And I think he seems pretty confident as well. So, and as Elle said, because it's the first day, I know he's odds on at the moment, but I can 100% see there'll be someone will be giving an even money boost, or there'll be some form of super boost somewhere of even money or better. And I'd take as much as you can.
I've got a double for both of those two on the first day, so that's
there you go. Easy money, mate. Easy money.
Easy money. And you mentioned actually quite interesting. So we did, I can't remember what episode it is now, but which isn't helpful, but we did a question and answer on what to look for in the parade ring. And it was quite interesting because you were sort of saying that actually if a horse is looking a bit sweaty, you know, it's maybe something that might put you off. But if that is known to be for this horse, like just the way he's, you know, how they prep and that's just how they are, then
I think most of the time you'd say probably 8 or 9 times out of 10 you'd probably say it's not a good thing necessarily, but for some horses that's just naturally how they are. They just get sweaty, and he just seems to be one of those. It's just a buzzy, sweaty kind of character, so it'd just be interesting to see on the day when we're there watching it live just how he is temperament wise. But he's
awesome.
an app.
Good. All right. Thanks, guys. Looking forward to it. So let's do the next best then. So if you weren't going to go for the favs, what would you say then for the next best? Let's start with you then, Duncan.
I've gone for the Mayor's Hurdle, and I've gone for Golden Ace. So I think she's around 6-1 currently. It may have changed slightly now that if Lossiemouth goes there, that kind of throws a small spanner in the works because, you know, the vibe from Willie and Rich Ritchie, who was the owner of Lossiemouth, all eyes were on the champion hurdle. But if they're now pivoting her towards this, you know, you think that she's got the best chance of doing it, which obviously puts a bit of a less of a chance on Golden Ace. But nonetheless, I will still stick with Golden Ace. She won at the festival last year in the Mayor's Novice, beating none other than Brighter Days Ahead, who's now obviously seen as an absolute superstar and is going on to take on Constitution Hill in the champion hurdle. Jeremy Scott, who's the trainer for the horse, kind of said at the beginning of the season that he didn't think that she was running completely like her very best. That seems to now, she seems to now have turned the corner. The last race that she ran in at Wincanton was against Burdett Road, who's a 150 rated horse, and is now running in the champion hurdle as well. I just think that, you know, she has the form, she likes Cheltenham, she gets up the hill. She's a very, very powerful mare. I think she's a great shot at 6-1, and you can take that each way as well. So it's not like you'd have to have a shot to nothing on her. So I think she'll push them really close in the Mayor's Hurdle.
Yeah, so she's won at Cheltenham twice in the last year. She's pretty good and come third as well when she hasn't won. So yeah, fair. All right, and would you go each way or would you go?
I would go each way. I think 6 is each way. Like I don't think if Lossie goes there that she could still get turned over by Lossie if she goes there. I just think just for safety, top 3.
All right.
Happy days.
Happy days. Lovely. Elliot, what have you got?
Yeah, there's a few I could have gone with, but tried to find. Sorry?
Take your time.
That's the biggest delay going on with you ever. Like he asked you the question.
You're going to Elliot in Australia, apparently.
Yeah, there was a bit of feedback here. Sorry, guys. We're all good. Yeah, so the next best for me is in the National Hunt Chase, which is actually the oldest race at the festival. Used to be a 4-mile race, now over 3 mile 6. This year is the first year it's going to be handicapped. Probably does open the door a little bit more to different types of horses having a chance to win this race. Obviously, it's the longest race at the festival as well, quite a stamina test. One I think who will really appreciate that step up in trip is Transmission. Duncan and I were at the Paddy Power meeting in November at Cheltenham. Backed this horse to win under Patrick Mullins when he came from the absolute clouds. I do seem to remember a good celebration that day. Duncan, when he got up.
I watched the replay yesterday and I was like, I can seem to remember, I was waiting to see us running down the side of the camera.
Like Jose Mourinho style.
Yeah, absolutely right.
So the step up in trip to 3 mile 6 will pose absolutely no problems to him. He then ran again at Cheltenham over a similar trip on the new course. Off a few, but he only went up £3 for that, which I didn't think was too harsh at all. And he went down to Haiti Claus, who is a horse that's I think either favourite or second favourite for the Ultima earlier in the day, so no disgrace in that defeat. And he also ran second earlier in the season at Cheltenham in a novice chase, so he's got really strong course form. Will appreciate a bit of nicer ground, which it looks like there's going to be now at Cheltenham this year, and the step up and trip will suit. And then he basically just had a prep run over hurdles last time in the Cleve, so just kind of ignore that. And interestingly, Neil Mulholland used the exact same prep for a horse called the Druid's Nephew when he won the Ultima a few years ago. So he's available at 6-1. I can see that going shorter on the day, so I think that's a very fair price, and I'd even back him each way at that price.
So, because I was just looking at that, so came last on that prep race. That was the last one at Cheltenham. So you think you just ignore that, would you?
Yeah. That is, one, it's a hurdles race, and clearly he's a good chaser. He has won over hurdles, but he's a good chaser. And two, you see this a lot with Grand National horses that we talked about the Grand National weights coming out sort of in February time. and horses that have been aimed at the race don't want to show their hand too early in the season and go up the handicap. So if you run over hurdles, it's a bit of a cop out because you can't really get moved over fences on your handicap mark. So he knows it doesn't, but he knew he needed another run between December and the festival. So he can either go and place in a good chase and go up a few more pounds and maybe ruin his chance of winning at the festival, or he can have a day out in a hurdle race. And to be honest, it was a grade 2 hurdle which he would have had no right of winning, to be honest. So I think that's a good question, because a lot of people think, he was a bit rubbish last time, maybe I should.
Yeah, might put people off.
But those sorts of clear plots, when they do something really rogue like that, when they've got a bigger target in mind, quite happy to draw a line through it and know that he'll be fully tuned up for the big day.
Yeah, lovely. All right, good. Thanks, guys. So let's just do I forgot what the AWAC stands for again.
IWAC.
The in with a charm. IWAC. Give it a whack.
We'll call it outsider if you want, for future reference.
That's fine. I'll get it after a couple of times. So in with a chance, IWAC for short. Duncan, what have you got?
So I'm going against L in this, although to be fair, I probably will back transmission on the day on course. But I'm going in the same race, so the National Hunt Challenge Cup at 5:20. I'm going with Jericho Rock. So this is a horse by David Pipe, trained by David Pipe, and he came within 3 lengths of the famous Corrick Rambler in the Ultima last year, off a mark of 138, which is obviously no mean feat. We know how good Corrick Rambler was. The fact, he went and won 2 Ultimas back to back, I think, and then went on and won the Grand National. You see him returning. He's been very, very lightly raced this campaign so far, and he returned to the turf in January at Windsor. Very respectable third. He looked like he got tired a couple of furlongs out, which is absolutely fine when he's returning to that. But he runs now off a mark £7 lower than the Ultima last year. So he's running off a very, very handy weight. And I just think at 20-1, it's got to be worth a shout.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
Fill your boots.
Nice outsider.
Yeah, I do like that one. That's a good shout. I think 20 is a very fair price. He's got course form as well. Very fair shout that. I like one in the Ultima at an absolute mad price. He's a bit of a double-edged sword, this horse, because he was favourite for the Ultima 4 years ago, would you believe, in 2021, when wow. I think I had 4 winners on the day, and this was the 5th leg of the 5th fold. Obviously it wasn't. This was the third race, so the 5 fold was already down, but the others went in, and he was favourite for the Ultima, and he ended up not winning and finished second, and I would have won about 20 grand or something stupid if he'd won. So he's always been in my mind, this horse, but he's been very lightly raced since. He's obviously had a few niggly issues along the way, and he was kind of beaten in the race when he ran in it 2 years ago, but he's continued to drop kind of markedly down the weights, and he's also switched trainers, so he's now gone from Kim Bailey to an up-and-coming trainer called Mel Rowley. She's traditionally been a point-to-point trainer, but the last few years taken up her licence, and he's going really well. I believe she had the Welsh National winner this season, for example. So.
Yeah,
Definitely a yard on the up, and can definitely improve horses from other stables. And he was £17 higher when he was favourite for this race back in 2021. Now, clearly, he's obviously getting on a bit. He's 11 years old. But ironically, the year that he was beaten in the race, he was beaten by an 11-year-old. Good old vintage clouds. I do seem to run that well. So, I wouldn't say age is a massive issue when you talk about staying chasers. When you get to sort of 10, 11, they can still do it. And the fact that he's down to a mark of 140, I think, has been given a real chance by the handicapper. He has had a lovely little prep run at the course in January, over 2.5 miles, which is a trip far too short. He travelled well, jumped nicely in the first circuit, and then was clearly outpaced, as you'd expect, over a trip too short. But stayed on quite well to finish 5th, getting a bit tired towards the end. So I just see that, and he went down £3 for that, and I just think that was a lovely tee-up job for a race that's going to suit him really well. And he's 40-1, and I'd say I would give that a chance, or whatever it is.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, nice. Good outsider as well.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Get on at 40s. Come on.
Get at 40s.
Get on at 40s and Jericho Rock double.
Oh,
that'd be lovely.
Suits you. Love that. That is naughty kitty. There's been a naughty kitty.
That is naughty kitty. Okay, right. That's day 1. Cheers, guys. Looking good. Very excited. We'll be there. I'll be then coming home with a hangover on day 2 on Wednesday, but you'll still be there. Let's go with the nap then. So you both chosen the same ones.
It's 2 o'clock, Brown Advisory, Ballyburn.
Paddy?
I think he's been brought in from the 7-4 that he was when I looked him up. But yeah, I think we spoke about him on the last podcast or 2 podcasts ago. I just think he's got the course form. He won over hurdles in the Turners last year, hosed in. The longer trip that he now faces for the Brown Advisory, which is 3 miles, will only suit him. Willie's very confident from reading his stable tour. I just think that, he'll only get sure on the day, in all honesty, I think. But I'd take the price now, and if they do any kind of boost on him, I'd be taking that as well. I just think he'll just eat the ground up, wins all day.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Okay, let's go on to next best then. So, Elliot, what have we got then for not the total outsider, but the next best after the NAP?
Just looking, and Happy Go Lucky has been backed, so get on.
What's the price?
Well, he's 25, but I just think if you go on not non-run no bet, he's still 33s with 365, but he's got a 20, 25 everywhere else. So that 40s has already been snaffled, which might have been me this morning.
How did you know? How did you
Prove it
know?
up, did you?
And also Jericho Rocks. Where did you see 20?
Yeah, I was just looking at that. Yeah.
20s, come on. I got 20s the other day.
But you can't put 20s if he's not 20s now.
He was 20. He was
23 weeks ago, lads. Weren't you on?
I wrote
At the time of this
I wrote
recording.
this up 2 days ago, and he was
But
20.
it's not relevant then, is it? It's 2 days of past.
Yeah, of course it is.
Don't give him a hard time. He did his prep in advance,
This is-
2 days.
Exactly. You can't hit a man for talking about the prep time when I've done it. 2 days ago, mate. 2 days.
I was looking through your prizes. I'm thinking none of them are available now, so we're going to be putting people away here.
Oh, they'll get over it.
Okay, we'll underline the fact this is when I got on them. Like when I looked at this, these were the prices.
Time stamped from Tuesday.
Yeah.
Lacks betting knowledge.
Lacks racing knowledge.
Right, what do you want? Next best. Do I have to
Oh,
value?
yes. Come on, boys.
Hey, all right.
Chop,
This is
chop.
live. This is a moving beast.
It is lie.
After Ballyburn's hacked up in the Brown Advisory, take all your money and then chuck it on this one in the cross race. Don't do that, obviously. Please gamble responsibly.
This is not financial advice.
So this is another race that has now changed to a handicap. So was a handicap a few years ago, the cross-country chase. Then it was changed to a conditions race, and it completely changed the complexion of the race, where you started getting kind of real Grade 1 type horses that were just slightly on the downgrade. Ex-Gold-Cup horses, like the Delta Workman and Rindo, were running in the race, which started to make a bit of a mockery of what is kind of a bit of a different event to give sort of older horses a bit of a chance of a run at Cheltenham. So it's now back to a handicap, which in theory you would think, well, maybe I should not look at the horses at the top of the handicap, those ex-Grade 1 horses, because they're the ones that are going to be carrying all the weight, giving away weight to the horses coming up down in the handicap. But to be honest, this race, because it's on such a tight turning track, they do kind of 3 ever decreasing circuits of the inner course at Cheltenham. It is a bit of a crawl, and then they do have a bit of a dash on the final circuit up the hill. And because of that, I still think that the classier horses will probably come to the fore. And so I'd rather be with a sort of proven kind of top quality horse here, especially if it's got proven form at Cheltenham, than looking for something far down the handicap. And the one that fits that mould for me is Galvin, an old favourite of mine. He won the National Chase again way back in 2021, and then he was only 132nd favourite for the Gold Cup the following year, so that shows the kind of regard he was held in. And then he didn't perform brilliantly that day, but he was really fancied for the cross country 2 years ago, when unfortunately for him the ground just turned into a bit of a bog, which didn't suit him. Really played into Delta Works' strengths, but he was a good second in the race. And then he missed Cheltenham last year in favour of the Grand National, and I think Duncan spoke about it a few weeks ago. He was a really gallant fourth in that, which shows that even at the age of 11 he's still able to perform. And then he had a bit of an unusual task the last time when he went over to America for the American Grand National, which is a 2.5 mile hurdle, which is very different to our Grand National. But exactly, which is a long distance race for them over there. But he was literally pipped on the post, so he basically nearly won that race. And that was in the autumn. So he just shows he's still in good heart, and he's won fresh off a break before, so he hasn't been seen since October, but that wouldn't bother me at all. He hadn't been seen from October till when he won at Cheltenham a few years ago. The key to him is good ground. It's obviously dried out loads in the last week or so. There's not a lot of rain forecast next week either. So at around 4-1, I know Stumptown's quite a warm, fancied favourite. I can see that's got an obvious chance, but I think Galvin's got the back class, and Gordon targets this race, and I think Galvin at 4-1 to get the job done in the cross country.
And for the record, it's now 9-2.
Was it? That's
He's
better.
4-1, isn't he? I just checked. He's 4-1.
I know, it's
Have you seen 92?
drifting like a bar.
Well, I backed him like 2 weeks ago. He was. Punters watching.
All right, Duncan, on to the next one then. So, Turner's novice hurdle.
Yeah, I've gone for the new line. He was 15-8 when I wrote this the other day. He's now 7-4, so he's been backed in. Yeah, no, I just think he looked like an absolute real deal when he won the Challow at Newbury back in December. And I think we spoke about it on one of our pods. Check it out. Probably maybe 2 or 3, 4, who knows which
Watch
one.
them all, and then you won't.
Just watch them all, and you'll see it for yourself. JP McManus came in, a bit like El's done, and swooped in and bought a horse. So I think he paid like £1 million or just shy of £1 million for this horse. And Dan Skelton says it's his best chance of the week, and you can see why. If you go back and watch that race, he just didn't come out of second gear really. His cruising speed, I just thought, and how slick he was over his hurdles was so impressive. Yeah, he absolutely faces his hardest task. And Final Demand is a very worthy adversary.
Well,
And the Yellow Clay.
probably worth mentioning at this point the recent market swings going on for this race and the Albert Bartlett and Final Demand. I don't know if you've seen that.
No, why? What's going on?
Well, Final Demand Final Demand was Willie's kind of horse for this, if you like. He is now shortened, and he said all along so there's 3 novice hurdles: 2 mile Supreme, 2.5 mile Turners, 3 mile Albert Bartlett / Potato Racing.
Yeah.
And he said all along he wasn't going to go for the Albert Bartlett. He is now shortened dramatically for that race and drifted a bit for this race, which is why the new line is almost favourite in some markets now. So if he doesn't go, the new line's a goddamn certainty, isn't he?
Clay, I'd still give a chance to Yellow Clay, because the Yellow Clay's been is definitely going here from what Gordon Elliot said the other day in an interview. I'd definitely give the Yellow Clay a chance, but I still think New Line, like you say, should win this. I just think he looks unbelievable. If New Demand does go elsewhere, then like you say, it's hopefully a penalty kick. But it'd be quite interesting to see the 3 of them if they are all still in play on the day. Yeah, it'd just be good to see who comes out on top, because it'll be a hell of a race. But yeah, New Line for me.
All right, good. Thanks, guys. Shall we go on to the In With a Chan?
There we go.
So, Elliot, what have you got?
Yeah, Coral Cup, we've obviously spoken in the past about Joy Machan, the one we kind of put up a few weeks ago, but I've had another look at this race, and a horse that I think is a good price for a trainer that has won the race 3 years before and does definitely target the Coral Cup is Maxim. This race tends to really suit horses ridden prominently. There's some races at the festival where you tend to need to be held up, some where you really want to be in the van, as they call it, or right at the front. And this horse, they've kind of explored different tactics with him in the past. He was only 9-2. I think he was second favourite for the Patents 2 years ago. But he was held up and tried to make a late challenge, which really didn't suit him. And he was actually due to run in this race last year, but was a non-runner on the day. So clearly they've realised that maybe the slight drop back in trip is the right way to go for the Coral Cup. And they've also learned that the best way to get the most out of him is to bang him out at the front, and he loves a strong gallop and a big field. He's won at the DRF before, and then he took a really strong listed handicap hurdle at the Punchestown Festival last season when he pretty much made all the running. He actually won on his last start in a Grade 2 hurdle, the Boyne Hurdle at Navan. So he clearly comes into this race in good form. He is high enough in the weights, but I still think there's plenty of juice in him. And I think he's around 20-25 to 1 at the minute, so Maxim each way in the Coral Cup.
20-1.
Thank you. We're getting live prices now, that's good.
Live prices.
Live.
So can we give the prices we've actually taken versus, and then the live price? Is that okay?
You know what? If you don't
Was it
worry about
round?
it.
It's
Don't worry about
it's
it.
not about showing off,
Yeah.
it's about tipping.
Can we just cut Elliot out when he's moaning about this, please?
Honestly, every single punter will back me up
Yeah.
on this. Guaranteed.
Just say what price
TC
you've
went on
taken.
your guts for garters, mate. Tipping prices
No,
from 3 weeks ago.
TC takes prices like well early doors and then says like I got it on at this price.
Yeah, but okay, fine. Agree to disagree. Move on.
Yeah, that'd be
Right, there's some tension in the
Yeah.
air. I'm going to cover this because I've got what you're going to say in a Aki that could pay out 2 million if it comes in,
Oh, yeah.
That'll be like.
and I've got it in a 4-fold as well. So, what have you got then, Duncan?
Well, I kind of. It's a bit of like I think El mentioned. So I had obviously we'd spoken about Joy Machan, who we thought was an absolute like little sneaky plot from
So
Dan
we spoke
Skelton.
about that a couple of weeks ago, I think. Episode.
Yeah, when he ran at Ascot. and came a very, very kind second with the handbrake well and truly on. So we talked about that and got on at anti-post 20-1. He's currently 16s, but he might not make the race just based on the amount of entries that are still in there. He's, I think, number 32, and there needs to be, I think there's 26 max field in this, so we need another 6 horses to drop out. So there's plenty of time for that to happen, but if you've got non-runner no bet, then your quid's in, which is fine.
Yeah, which is no bet, so that's fine. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great.
I think we'll be right.
I hope so, because I think that either one of these, because if Joy Marchand don't get in, this is where I was worried about. This is why I put up this other horse, which is Dan Skelton's other horse, which we know he absolutely loves, the Coral Cup, having won it with Langer Down for the last couple of years. I put up Be Aware, which is current favourite at 6-1. It just seems like, he's again laid this horse out for the race. I think he's off a mark of 137, so he's off a very, very low weight. He's been campaigned over 2 miles, and the step up in trip looks like absolutely what he needs. So it just feels like that sneak that he's done all over again. He finished second to Burdett Road again, which we mentioned earlier on, as a 150 rated horse by half a length at Cheltenham and the Greatwood. So he's only finishing half a length down, and he's £13 lower in the weight. Then I think that's a pretty good indication. I just think it could be Langer Down 2.0. So we will see.
A couple of options there. Good. It'd be nice to see Joya Machine come in.
I love the way we all say it so differently.
Joya Machine. What do you say? Joy
Marchand.
Joy Marchand. I'm probably wrong.
I'm always wrong, mate.
By the way, I got some abuse about the Albert Bartlett, didn't I? Someone saying, for fuck's sake, didn't know what a potato was.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't know the potato race.
Who said that?
I don't know.
Oh, good news. Joy Marchand is now number 30 on the list.
Here we go. 4 more to go. Come on.
Oh, we're in, boys.
We're in.
It's coming home.
We got home and hosed. There's your TriCast.
There's your TriCast. Right, okay. Day 3, St. Patrick's Day. Luck of the Irish
On the
at
Paddies.
the Avenue. What we saying, Elliot? On the nap.
Yeah, this is going to be a pretty rinse and repeat boring job, but I think...
Can't wait to listen to it.
Oh, you want my nap? Nap is Tiapu. He is just in the stairs hurdle. We covered this on the pod last week. I've not been a big fan of this horse, but you can't really ignore his form. He's got the strongest form in the book. He won this race comfortably last year. He probably should be going for 3 in a row if Davy Russell didn't mess it up 2 years ago. And he's lightly raced, but they've realised that... actually, talking to David Russell, he was on the ATR preview this week, and they were asking, why does this horse not race so much? He basically is a very generous horse, which means he gives everything in his races, which takes a lot of time to get over. So you really just want to have him as fresh as beans and have him primed for the big day. So absolutely wouldn't worry about the absence. He did the same thing last year and won this race easily. And I'd say this is even a weaker race than last year's renewal. So he's even money at the minute, unless you're going to tell me it's now 10 to 11. But money at the minute.
I'm scrolling now. Check.
Unless it's changed in the last 10 minutes. But at the
Even
time
money.
of recording, that's our
Yeah.
even money. I think is a very fair price. I think you win
okay.
more than one in every 2 races of this. So he's the nap of the day.
All right, next best then, because you also had Tiapu, didn't you, Duncan? So let's go on to the next best. What have you got?
I've gone with Factifile for the Ryanair. I think he's been rerouted for the Gold Cup, although Tony Mullins on the Paddy Power preview the other day was adamant that he should still go Gold Cup. I just don't see it. I just don't think he stays. I think they make the right decision here if he goes here. He looks like the best horse in the race. I just don't think he'll be beaten based on what's in there. Gaelic Warrior looks like he's being routed here now again, which I think is a good move. But I just think Factifile's got too much class to not win this.
And you say he's still entered in the Gold Cup, do you say?
I think he's still entered in the Gold Cup, yeah.
Right.
But I just don't
win
think, because we might mention later on, so I know what you're thinking, who's also the favourite for the Grand National is being supplemented for the Gold Cup. And that's owned by JP McManus. JP McManus also owns Factifile, which could mean that if he's supplementing another horse into this, potentially means Factifile's coming out. But who knows? But I still think if Factifile goes here, if you do non-runner no bet, you'll be fine.
Okay, good. Elliot, who have you got next best?
Yeah, next best on the Thursday for me is probably going to be, again, a horse I've talked about before, but just to reiterate, Jericho de Repenay in the Bettingtips. 3 hurdle at 240. Made the case last week, but he was really good novice hurdler last season. Didn't go right for him over fences at Sandown earlier in the year. but he has had a bit of a reinvention of himself as now a 3-mile hurdler. And we've spoken about this race before, where you need to finish in the first 4 in a qualifier throughout the season to get into the final at Cheltenham. And so you see a lot of horses doing their best to finish 4th and not win these qualifiers so that they don't go up too much in the handicaps. And that was the absolute case with this horse at Exeter in one of the qualifiers a few weeks ago. He was given a very kind ride by Nico, and then there was a bit of a dash on to make sure he actually got 4th, and I think he finished 3rd in the end. But that was a nice little prep for this race. He is still lightly raced, and I think he's unexposed, and he gets in quite comfortably near the bottom of the weight. So Jericho de Repine next best in the Pertemps at 240.
And you said last week you can't have a 5 cherries in the Pertemps. You said I think it was like a 3 or something.
You said 4.9, didn't you?
4.9.
Round it down.
Yeah, we'll round it down. Okay, so in with a chance then. Let's go, Duncan. Who have you got?
Yeah, sorry, I think I may have robbed Elle with this one a little bit, but Elle flagged for that. I will give him an Elle flag. Look at him, he's so grizzly about it. It's like a bulldog chewing a wasp. He's gone for it. I think Ginny's Destiny. Again, based on what Elle said, it was on the Paddy Power preview again the other day, and Lydia Hislop gave a big shout for this, as did...
She's copying my tips as well, is she? I can get on to
No, I think so, mate. She's reading from your rule book, mate. She's reading from your rule book.
Yeah, be subscribed.
They gave a massive shout to this horse as well. Like, has the course form at Cheltenham, course and distance winner, loves to go from the front, and I'm not well enough, I'm sure Elle will know, but apparently for the plate you have to be kind of prominent or going from the front to win the plate, and he literally kind of has that profile of horse to do that, and he's come down a lot in the weights kind of recently as well. He's not had particularly many great runs over the last, I guess, 6-9 months or something like that, so he's come down to quite a nice little weight. At the time of this pod, he's 12 to 1, which he's been backed, which is pretty good going. So yeah, Ginny's Destiny will be my in with a chance outsider.
Okay, anything else to add on Ginny's Destiny?
No, I think Duncan covered it well.
Okay.
I will just say at the time that I got a bet on it was 25 to 1. But you should have listened to our pod last week, because you could have got a bigger price.
Always listen to the pod. Rule number 1.
This is the thing about anti-postmats, is what I'm saying. Get in early.
You do have to get in early. And I'm just building on top of my early ones now. I've just got so many layers. My Bet365 is an onion. Layers.
I think my Bet365 currently, what does it say, 40 bets, is that? I've got
40.
You're ill.
No.
25, which is
Invested,
quite a lot.
mate. Invested.
No, you're ill and all.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's 36. Okay, that's not so bad.
Yeah, I've got 25, but it's funny, I was trying to show someone at work and I was just like scrolling down and down and I might have a
Stock
problem.
market, mate. Right, I've got one in the same race as my in with a chance. So obviously I do like Ginny's Destiny's, full disclosure, but had another look at this race, and as Duncan says, you need to be prominent to win this. Pretty much all the runners over recent years have come from the front, and one that definitely fits that profile is a horse for Venetia Williams called Gemarand. It's another Frenchie. She has won this race 3 times before, so definitely knows what it takes to target a winner of this. They ran it in the wrong race last year, if I'll be honest. They ran it in the Grand Annual, which is over 2 miles. Clearly they've realised he needs a bit further, and he was outpacing that race but stayed on quite nice to be 5th. But he showed that he does benefit from the step up in trip when he won over 2 mile 5 at Ascot earlier in the season, and then he won really cosily over course and distance at Cheltenham in December, and he did go up £8 for that, which seemed harsh enough, but then he's run twice again over course and distance in January. But Venetia's horses were definitely sort of under a cloud during that time. They weren't really performing, so I wouldn't be too worried about that. And the last time particularly, for a horse that's always at the front, he was actually held up, which is a classic sign of we need to drop a few pounds in the handicap, because we'll just change tactics, let the horse underperform, and he purely came down £2. So he's now only £6 higher than that win over course and distance at Cheltenham, but he's available, or at least he was available, at 16 to 1, and I think Gemarand is a good each way shout in the plate.
All right. God, there's so many strategies going on, isn't there? Like, you don't realise, like, with other races to qualify, and absolute rabbit hole. Right, let's get on then to the last day. So if you've still got money left in the account, or you're doing still on another day, then we'll be there on Friday, won't you boys? So Gold Cup day. So let's go with the nap then. Elliot, I'll start with you because you had your Ginny's destiny robbed from you. So who's your nap then?
I think if you've got any money left on the Friday, all you need to do is stick it on Galopin Des Champs at whatever price you can get. I think he is the banker of the week. Not necessarily because he is the best horse.
More than Constitution Hill?
Well, because I think it's just the Gold Cup has fallen apart so much. Although, as Duncan said, I know the way you think it could be parachuted in at the last minute. And Banbridge is in there, who's a good enough horse. But I just think the field of the Gold Cup this year just looks so weak. We know it absolutely suits Galopin Des Champs. He's been imperious all season. He will handle, if it's a slow race, quick stamina race, the ground, he probably does want a bit softer, but he seemed to have won on any sort of ground. I just cannot, unless the horse turns up not fully himself, for whatever reason, which can happen once in a blue moon, I cannot see anything beating him. He's a horrible price, 8 to 15, because everything else has kind of fallen by the wayside, but
he'll get boosted.
Could be the super boost. Bet365 will do a super boost each day, and they tend to pick one of the big races, so I can see an even money bet for him, which is what...
Yeah, I was just looking if I could find it, but I couldn't. Yeah.
So he's nap of the week. If you gave me one horse to think that's going to win this week, it's him.
Nap of the week, Gold Cup, Galopin Des Champs. All right, let's go to next best then. So, Duncan, who have you got? I think you mentioned this one last week, didn't you?
I think so. It's in the Triumph, the JCB Triumph, which is the opening race on the final day, and it is East India Doc at 2 to 1. He's proven there's not a lot you can go off with the Triumph because it's obviously for 4-year-olds, so they haven't had much experience. But this one in particular, he's been to Cheltenham twice, won twice. He's both Grade 2s, and he's cruised to victory in both of them. He looks so good. You've obviously got the his main kind of rival in there's Lulamba for Nicky Henderson, who looked great in the run at Ascot when he won there quite handily. But East India Doc, I think, is just he's got the course form. Looked fantastic. I just don't see anything that's going to put it up to him really. Lulamba might get close, but I think he's a great shout at 2 to 1.
Did you see the talking of Lulamba? Did you see? They all did. Nicky's horses did a bit of a work gallop at Kempton Racecourse last week for the cameras, and Lulamba was one of the horses being worked that day, and Nico was on him. And I don't know, I can't remember who he was up against. It was 3 horses, but he was getting. Bear in mind, they didn't go like a proper work gallop. They just had a little bit of a canter around. He was getting pushed along at the end. He couldn't keep up with the 2 horses in front of him, and I was thinking that makes me a bit worried.
That doesn't go, is it? Yeah,
it's a PR nightmare.
So even more stress.
Cash out.
Doc, yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay. Anything else to add on East India Doc?
No, I'm just disappointed that I thought when we were talking about him a few weeks ago, he was probably a sneakier one because they were almost mad about Lulamba, but he's almost arguably favourite now. So I still think you might get around 2 to 1 on the day, and I just think the course form is solid, and there's not enough come from the Irish this season when they tend to dominate this race. Actually, it's probably one for the Brits this year. So with Duncan on East India Doc.
Okay, good. So finally, then in with a chance, Elliot. Who have you got?
Yeah, so I'll just remind people that didn't watch our previous podcast that I did put up All Mankind in the Fox Hunters, as I will always call it, which is the race after the Gold Cup. So do have a look at that one, but I wanted to try and vary it a little bit and find something different. So the County is a mad race. It's a hard one to find the winner of. And conversely to some of the races we have spoken about before, this is definitely a race that has tended to be won by a horse that has held up. On the new course at Cheltenham, so we've said before that Tuesday and Wednesday are on the old course, which is a tighter turning track which suits speedier horses. The new course is a much wider galloping track, so they go faster for longer, and therefore is much more of a stamina race, even at 2 miles, which this is 2 miles 1 furlong. And therefore, if you go, because they go so hard at front, it's almost impossible to keep that gallop up. So a lot of horses buy their time at the back of the field and come through with late runs. And one horse that did that to great success at the festival last year is Lark in the Morning, who came home to win the Fred Winter juvenile handicap hurdle. He's obviously a 5-year-old now this season, and that hasn't tended to have a good record in these handicaps, but that crop of juveniles seems to be quite smart, and there's been plenty that have come out and done well this season, including the likes of Lossiemouth, for example. I think this horse is interesting. He then went to run at Punchestown, but the ground went too soft for him. So he went back to Haydock, which obviously was sort of not really plan A, and didn't perform too great at the end of the season in the Swinton. But he has clearly been just safe for this race because he's had 1 run this season, at Leopardstown in the DRF. Sorry, over Christmas, not the DRF. And he ran nicely coming back from the back, but he's clearly been teed up for this race. He is up £10 from that win last season in the Fred Winter, but he won with plenty in hand, I think, that day, so I wouldn't be too disappointed about that. And he's available at around 8 to 1, and I just think a horse that's proven at Cheltenham will appreciate the better ground. Strong gallop and come from the back, lark in the morning.
£10 seems a lot, though. You're not worried about that?
Yeah, it is a lot, but you've got to think this is a young, improving horse. And if he'd had like 4 or 5 runs this season and clearly demonstrated he wasn't up to that, I'd probably be leaning against him. But because he's only had 1 run this season, they've obviously let him have time to develop and get stronger. And they obviously think that mark's fine. So he's off 132, which, you know, is nothing in a race like this. He'd be pretty much bottom weight. I'd be okay.
It's Duncan then, finally, the potato race, the Albert Bartlett. What have you got?
Your favourite.
My favourite. It's not the Aunt Bessie's.
Yeah, get on the Aunt Bessie's. So I think we flagged this. I flagged it in last week's pod. So yeah, the 320 Albert Bartlett, I've gone for JetBlue. I think he's 16 to 1 currently. He won the trial for this race back in December, and yeah, I just think you can't really go wrong at the price. The horse that's got that course and distance form, and he hosed up in it as well, I think by 16 lengths or something ridiculous. So yeah, just think could be on the improve. I'd love to see that as the winner, 16 to 1.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, guys. Good job. We do the Newbies NAP. Top 3.
Come on, let's see him.
I mean, this is where people will start tuning off, but I'm going to do it anyway. So I've got top 3. I said I'd pick some. Now, don't get me wrong, most of these are probably mentioned by Duncan or El over the last couple of weeks, but you know, I've done a bit of more research. So I've gone with Beyond Your Dreams, and that is because of what you posted earlier. So on our chat. So I think when we first spoke about Beyond Your Dreams and the Fred Winter Hurdle, it was 16s.
16 non-run, no bet. It was 20 to 1 anti-post.
20 to 1 anti-post, 16s, no run, no bet. I got it 12s. It's now 5 to 1. So that is huge. So I guess there's money coming in. So we did talk about that in episode 6. That's last week, a couple of weeks ago. So go and have a look. There's a couple of other things that stood out for me. So one in December, 2.5 mile hurdle at Fairy House. Apparently didn't actually jump great, but ran really well. Stayed on right to the end. Looked like it had a lot of energy towards the end, so that helps. I'm just thinking of the hill. You know, the hill needs, you need to have something toward the end on the hill. Also did the same at Navan, 2nd place. So the Fav is actually 11.10 weight, and Beyond the Dreams is 10.9. So I don't know. I don't know how much that's going to make a difference. You know, Beyond the Dreams has only gone up £2 since the last race. So all of those things coming into play. That's why it might have been backed, but that's why I'm picking it.
Yeah, like it.
All right, thoughts?
Lovely.
Well, I'm obviously all over it.
That's what I said. Let's stop you there then. Right, let's go on to number 2. Let's go on to number 2 then. So Touch Me Not was if they race in the Grand Annual, Touch Me Not could be a good shout. So came 2nd recently, got beaten by Majborough. So I think Majborough's still in the other race.
Arkle.
Which Touch Me Not is entered for, which is what race, Duncan?
It's the Arkle.
The Arkle. So if...
Second race on the first day.
Yeah, so if Touch Me Not goes to the Arkle, I'd probably stay away personally. I don't know. I think Majborough will probably beat him again. But if he goes to the Grand Annual, I think 8 to 1. Yeah, 1 at Punchestown, jumps well, stays in well, probably good for the hill. So yeah, and actually, even though he got beaten by Majborough at Leopardstown, I think it was like he stayed with Majborough for a while, so it wasn't like, and it was those two in the race basically. So I think that bodes well.
Yeah, like it.
Agreed.
And then lastly is on the Ryanair Chase Projector Rat. How do you say it?
Projector Rat.
Who? Projector Rat. There's a rat in my kitchen. It's on for the socials.
What are the socials? What would you say? It's Projector Rat.
Yeah, you just said it like a Jamaican.
You don't really pronounce the rat bit at the end. This is Projector
It's
Rat.
because I was trying to work out how to pronounce it with Sarah.
So you really
earlier.
pronounce the rat bit.
And I literally, I've written the horse's name, and then in brackets I've got Projector Rat.
There's no J in it either.
Yeah.
Projector Rat.
Projector Rat.
Right, anyway, Ryanair Chase. It was 8 to 1, now 11 to 2. Money coming in. Probably do each way. Don't think he'll beat Factor File, so that's why each way is probably good. I won at Cheltenham before.
On this race last year, mate.
On this race last year, yeah. Won the last race in Windsor, jumped quite well apparently, led most of it. So yeah.
There's a video on our socials of him winning at Windsor that I took. Check that out.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, I think his horse got a great chance.
Yeah, so that's my newbie naps top 3 for the week.
Lovely, mate. Like it.
All right, good. Thanks, guys. Well, that's Cheltenham. We wrapped up Cheltenham. We've done a good 4-day review there, and we've also got previous pods as well. So go and watch those if you want a bit more detail. So let's do quick preview of Sandown at the weekend because you're both there. I mean, you're probably the only people in the country going to another racecourse before Cheltenham.
Absolutely
but,
not. We're warming up.
You're hardcore. So
With
let's
the
do some
restaurant
quick
as well. Fine dining.
fine dining. Just a little warm up just to get you wet your whistle.
On the
Let's do a quick preview of Sandown then, and then we'll get out of here. So, Elliot, let's start with you then. Let's do the novices hurdle handicap.
Yeah, this is the EBF final, so really good race for the novices. A trainer that has a fairly good record in it, although we have been slagging him all season, is Paul Nichols. Although I do think he's slowly turning a corner now. Maybe that sun has made his horses feel a bit better. He's won this race 3 times before, and I think he has a good chance here with Belliano. He won a point-to-point race in the autumn of 2023. The horse that finished third in that race came out and bolted up next time. And he got off the mark over hurdles at the second time of asking, winning at Ascot. And I always like horses that can win novice hurdles. At Cheltenham and Ascot tend to be of better quality than some of the smaller tracks. Beat a horse that day called Tommy the Tank, who then won his next start by 13 lengths. He then had a bit of a break over the winter and came back a few weeks ago to win really easily last time out at Hereford. And he's been given an open handicap mark of 125, which I think could underestimate him. And it's currently 9-2. And I'd be quite keen on that Belliano.
All right, good. Duncan, who have you got then on the same day?
I did have a look at Nichols one. I actually came and fell down on the Kembley Brewery. So the horse has been running over. This is a 2 mile 4, so 2.5 miles. The horse has been running over 2 miles. And when I looked at the breeding of the horse, it really looks like the step up in trip to 2.5, maybe even further, would suit this horse all day. And again, you need stamina with the hill at Sandown. So I just think that the horse has got a good chance there. Also, last time I came second to the now favourite for this race, Meet Me by the Sea, which is a JP McManus horse. And there's the massive swing in the weights now between the two of them. So I just think for me, I think that's good enough reason. I think he should be able to beat the favourite 5-1. You can have a cheeky each way on that at that price. So yeah, for me, the Kemble Brewery.
All right, so you're both on a different horse then, or you going to both build each other's?
No, I'm happy with mine for now.
Yeah, no, I'm good with mine.
Okay, so let's do the 225 then, the Imperial Cup handicap. So Duncan, let's start with you.
Yeah, I'm always a sucker for a horse that's been to the race and won it previously. Go Dante at 9-1. Won the race off a mark of 129 last year. Hasn't been in the same vein of form this year. As he's now running off 127, so £2 lower. Horses that have been there and done it, got the t-shirt. I always like the look of those. Go Dante would be the main bet. I've also kind of had a look to see if there was anything else in there, and I fell down on Spirits Bay, which is a Nigel Twiston Davis horse. I think it's got a very, very low weight to carry of 10 stone 6, and came third to none other than Constitution Hill at Cheltenham last time out, only going down by 5 3/4 lengths, I think it was. So yeah, I just think off the current mark could be a potential option there. So between those two, both 9-1.
Lovely. And Elliot, finally?
Yeah, for up in the same race, the Imperial Cup, the bonus is back this year. There's been a long-standing bonus between winning this race, obviously the Saturday before Cheltenham, and then winning any of the other races at the Cheltenham Festival. You get an extra $100,000. I was looking at, I don't know if you know, Duncan, I was looking through, I was trying to see any horses that are doubly entered. I think Bo Zenith in the Coral Cup.
Yeah, I think the Bergerac one, whatever it's called, the Willie Mullins on Batman Girac, is doubly entered.
Good old Bergerac.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking Bergerac. I was like, it's something Iraq. Batman Girac, I think, is doubly entered. So yeah, he's at Cheltenham. 2 o'clock.
Bo Zenith in the Coral Cup, I think, as well.
The county.
Oh, the county.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he's doubly entered in that.
So some horses will be going for the double, but that used to be a much bigger thing back in the day, so I wouldn't be too worried about that. The horse I've gone for is towards the top of the market, is Lump Sum, at around 7-1. He was a decent novice hurdler last season, winning a Grade 2, the Dovecote Novices Hurdle at Kempton. Reappeared with a really commanding win in the Welsh Champion Hurdle first time up, before then being set kind of pretty ludicrous challenges in Grade 1 company. First of all, in the Fighting Fifth, where he chased home Sagino, and then in the Christmas Hurdle, where, against the mighty Constitution Hill, as Duncan said, there's no no shame in finishing behind that horse. Then he was set a much more realistic target last time out in the Betfair / William Hill hurdle, where he finished a really good second, but just ran into an absolute handicap plot in this Joyeuse, who now might be supplemented for the Mares hurdle at Cheltenham. So even though he was a kind of 8-length second in that race, I think he'd comfortably kind of won the race, beat everything else, but you've just got a horse that's thrown in that's clearly made him look a fool in second. Annoyingly, he went up £3 for that, which I think is pretty harsh. So he is probably right at the top of his handicap mark, but he is still improving, and I think there could be a little bit more to come. And so I'm quite keen on lump sum at 7-1.
Awesome. All right, thanks guys. We'll enjoy Sandown on Saturday. Hopefully you'll be dropping a few videos on social media throughout the day, a bit of content, which we like.
Try and get Paul Nichols on the thing.
Good luck.
And I'll see you Monday night, ready for Tuesday. So that's a wrap, guys. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Let us know what you're liking about this podcast. Drop us your questions. Let us know what you'd like to hear more about in the future. If you like it, just share with your friends, your family, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Watch us on YouTube. You can listen to us on Apple and Spotify, and message us on tailedoffpod@gmail.com. And then also, like we said, keep up to date on social media, Instagram, TikTok, and X. Until next time, guys, have fun out there, be smart, race hard, and try not to be tailed off. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Bet responsibly.
Position, and he powered the last flies down. And he